Hi, so this is the first episode, let's say, about the basics of jewelry making that you must watch till the end before starting making jewelry and perhaps watching at my courses and most of my YouTube videos where I show how to do things. So here I'm presenting you the basics, and I'm going to start with the most basic of them all, which is a pair of goggles or glasses. Use the wider, the bigger, the more ridiculous you look with them on, the better, because you really have to protect your eyes from any kind of thing, projections or things that could come into your eyes. And the reason why I like those is because you have little slots, which helps to, when you have your mask on, you will be able to breathe with those without making it all foggy and fogging it up to fog to fog up the thing. So after the glasses, obviously this is a really simple list. I've tried to narrow it down to the simplest, but there are other things that you might want to use. But so the first thing is the glasses. You need good glasses, and perhaps you even need to check with your doctor if you have sight problems to be sure that you will be able to work properly. And this is something that you have to check with your doctor if needed. The mask, pretty basic one. This is the cheapest and easiest to access in any hardware store. You might want to invest, if you do a lot of jewelry, in a mask that actually filters particles that you can actually change over time when you use it a lot. Those are really good, but if you don't want to invest at first, those little masks are just enough for the polishing and all the parts that need it. Here is a fire extinguisher. In France, I think the law makes it compulsory to have one if you're working with a blowtorch or any sort of kind of craftsman thing. So obviously you must have one because we never know what can happen. The other basic thing that you can find anywhere is bicarbonate. We need this for for pretty much everything too, especially when it comes to pickling. So using citric acid in your pickle pot when you want to change the water from the pickle pot, you have to put a couple of teaspoons or a tablespoon of bicarbonate. It will also be great working if you burnt yourself with this, the citric acid solution, a little bit of bicarbonate and some water from the tap, I think you say, and you will be able to neutralize the effects of the citric acid. And there's also other various ways to use it, but I'm not going to go in depth into this, but this is really handy and you must have this close at hand. The other kind of thing that I find important to have is, in case of emergency, to have some eye drops, just plain drops that you can find at the pharmacy. It's in case something goes in your eye, you must rinse it as fast as you can, and then perhaps call 911 or wherever you are in the world, the right thing for you in case of a problem. The other thing I use a lot are those kind of stripes, and those can be used on fingers to protect your fingers. It's not a must, but I must say that it's something that I use quite often, and it really protects the finger. And for the ladies out there, if you have nail polish, it will not mark the nail polish, so it will preserve your fingers. And when you polish, especially when it gets really hot, the pieces are really hot, then using this will prevent it. Well, you will still feel the warmth, but it'll be easier to work with polishing compounds and polishing tools. And it will also prevent small cuts that you can do sometimes with the files or any sort of sharp tool. So I really highly recommend those. Those are really efficient and super cheap. So those are the most basic things. The other thing I want to mention before leaving you there is one, long hair. If you have long hair, you have to work with hairs tied up, because with the flex shaft we never know what can happen, or even with a blowtorch, if you use it and you burn your hair. I've heard kind of horror stories about that, so please tie up your hair. The other thing is about the blowtorch. If you're using a blowtorch, you have to use the proper equipment to use with it, and the perhaps gas expansion. I don't really know the correct term in English, but this is something you really have to look into when you're buying your blowtorch, to be sure that you use the right gas with the right components, and be really careful with this, because we can make accidents really easily if we are not educated about the tools we're using. The other thing is about drugs. So this is in an informative video. So you do what you want, but I would really highly suggest you to check with your doctor, because if you're on hardcore treatment, antidepressant and stuff that kind of fog and blur your consciousness and your capacities, and your reflexes, and your mind, this is not a good deal. It doesn't work with jewelry making at all, because jewelry making requires a lot of concentration. So if no drugs whatsoever when you're working, no drugs. No bueno. And the last thing is about ventilation. It's better, and it's a must to work in a place that's well ventilated with good lighting. And foremost, sorry, you have to be careful not to use the blowtorch if there's air coming in, so no windows open, and please no fan, for the love of God, when you're using a blowtorch. That's it for me. I hope that was out of service.